Today's discussion is about best practice, African peaceful boundary delimitation and demarcation, 2025 to 2050. Border marking peacefully. You mean peaceful boundary delimitation and demarcation, agreeing where the boundary legally lies, physically marking it, and then managing it cooperatively. There are useful lessons from the USA, EU, China, Russia, Japan, and Korea. A key distinction is important. Delimitation is the legal/political agreement on the boundary. Demarcation is the physical marking on the ground. The African Union specifically promotes both, together with cross-border cooperation. Comparative lessons for Africa. Region/country main trend or practice peaceful border marking approach strength/best practice lesson for Africa. USA Trend 1 Institutionalized boundary maintenance with neighbors approach 1 Joint technical mechanisms, boundary monuments, surveys, and regular maintenance strength 1 Permanent institutions plus technical prec. Asian Lesson 1 Create strong joint boundary commissions, not ad hoc political committees. Keep markers, maps, and coordinates continuously updated. U Trend 2 Shift from simply drawing borders toward integrated border governance approach to shared responsibility, information exchange, coordinated border authorities and facilitation of legitimate. TE Movement Strength 2 Borders as managed. Interfaces rather than only barriers. Lesson 2 African borders should support trade, mobility, and security simultaneously. The O itself describes borders as potential bridges rather than barriers. Chi. NA Trend 3 Extensive use of bilateral treaties and technical demarcation agreements approach 3 Negotiation rightward arrow treaty rightward arrow maps rightward arrow boundary markers rightward arrow joint management arrangements strength 3 Detailed legal and technical documentation Lesson 3 Resolve disputed sections through negotiated packages containing legal text, agreed maps, coordinates, markers and maintenance rules. China and Vietnam, for example, completed land demarcation through protocols, maps, and border management agreements. Russia Trend 4 Formalized management of established boundaries approach 4 Joint inspections, protection/restoration of markers, agreed responsibilities, and record strength for continuous maintenance after demarcat. Ion Lesson 4 Demarcation should not be treated as a one-time project. Establish joint inspection teams and marker repair procedures. A China-Russia agreement, for example, provides for joint inspections and documented restoration of damaged or missing markers. Japan Trend 5 Strong emphasis on international law and negotiated management, especially maritime boundaries approach 5 Legal frameworks, diplomatic consultations, fisheries/resource management arrangements strength 5 Separate territorial disagreement from practical cooperation where possible Lesson 5 Even where sovereignty remains disputed, countries can cooperate on fisheries, environment, safety, and resource management while continuing diplomatic negotiations. Japan uses such arrangements in maritime contexts. South Korea Trend 6 High-tech border/security management combined with diplomacy and regional cooperation approach 6 Surveillance, accurate mapping, maritime cooperation and diplomatic channels strength 6 Technology plus institutional coordination Lesson 6 African states can combine GIS, satellite imagery, GNSS/GPS, drones and digital boundary databases with local knowledge and diplomacy. Technology should support not replace political agreement. Africa/O Trend. D7 Increasing movement toward integrated border governance approach 7 Delimitation, demarcation, cross-border cooperation and regional integration strength 7 African ownership and peaceful settlement Lesson 7 Strengthen the O Border Program, national boundary commissions and regional organizations, involve border communities and prioritize development alongside security. The O's integrated border governance strategy explicitly seeks to use borders to promote peace, stability, movement, and integration. Roles of peaceful border delimitation and demarcation. If you mean the roles of peaceful border delimitation and demarcation in achieving peace, security, stability, and long-term civilization in Africa, the framework can be summarized as follows. Role contribution to peace and security contribution to stability long-term civilization lesson for Africa Role 1 Clear borders contribution 1 Reduces uncertainty over territorial claims and prevents avoidable disputes. Stability 1 Gives states predictable territorial responsibilities Lesson 1 Stable civilizations require recognized and respected rules of territory. Role 2 Peaceful dispute settlement contribution 2 Prevents border disagreements from becoming armed conflicts Stability 2 Builds confidence between neighboring states Lesson 2 Make negotiation, mediation, and law stronger than military confrontation Role 3 Joint border institutions contribution 3 Creates permanent channels for solving incidents Stability 3 Prevents small disputes from escalating Lesson 3 Institutions must survive changes of presidents and governments. Role for joint security contribution. 4 countries can cooperate against trafficking, terrorism and organized crime. Stability. 4 makes border regions safer without unnecessary militarization. Lesson 4 security should be cooperative and community-based. Role 5 community participation contribution. 5 reduces conflict between neighboring communities. Stability. 5 protects traditional livelihoods and local relationships. Lesson 5 peace lasts longer when border communities own the peace process. Role 6 cross-border trade contribution. 6 creates economic interests in maintaining peace. Stability. 6 connects markets and employment. Lesson 6 economic interdependence can make war more costly and peace more valuable. Role 7 shared natural resources contribution. 7 reduces disputes over water, pasture, forests, and minerals. Stability. 7 encourages coordinated resource management. Lesson 7 treat shared resources as common interests rather than zero-sum assets. Role 8 infrastructure and connectivity contribution. 8 legal crossings reduce informal and dangerous routes. Stability. 8 roads, bridges, and border posts connect communities. Lesson 8 borders can become bridges for civilization, not walls against neighbors. Role 9 technology and mapping contribution. 9 accurate GI/GNSS data reduces factual disputes. Stability. 9 creates a common technical reference. Lesson 9 build an African digital boundary information system. Role 10 environmental cooperation contribution. 10 prevents competition over ecosystems and water. Stability. 10 supports climate and disaster resilience. Lesson 10 long-term stability requires peace between people and sustainable management of nature. Role 11 education and cultural exchange contribution. 11 reduces stereotypes and hostility. Stability. 11 strengthens relationships between neighboring peoples. Lesson 11 civilization develops through knowledge, cultural exchange and mutual respect. Role 12 regional integration contribution. 12 makes bilateral disputes easier to manage collectively. Stability. 12 strengthens continental institutions. Lesson 12 strong borders and African integration are complementary, not contradictory. Role 13 intergenerational institutions contribution. 13 preserves agreements and historical records. Stability. 13 prevents each generation from reopening settled questions. Lesson 13 peace should be designed for 50 to 100 years, not only the next. Political cycle. Role 14 rule of law contribution. 14 replaces force with agreed procedures. Stability. 14 makes state behavior more predictable. Lesson 14 durable civilization depends on rules that apply to powerful and weak states alike. The strategic progression. Peaceful demarcation. Rightward arrow trust. Rightward arrow security cooperation. Rightward arrow stability. Rightward arrow trade and mobility. Rightward arrow shared development. Rightward arrow regional integration. Rightward arrow intergenerational civilization. The deeper lesson is that border policy is not merely about territory. Done well, it becomes a foundation for peace. Disputes are settled without violence. Security. States and communities cooperate against common threats. Stability. Borders become predictable and incidents manageable. Development. Safe borders enable trade, investment, and infrastructure. Civilization. Institutions, law, knowledge, and cooperation become stronger than conflict. For Africa, the long-term objective should therefore be secure borders, peaceful borders, open economic borders, and cooperative borderlands. This fits the African Union's broader concept of integrated border governance, where borders are intended to contribute to peace, security, movement, trade, and continental integration. Overall trend. The international trend is moving from, where is the line, rightward arrow, how do we jointly manage the border? The strongest model for Africa would therefore combine 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8 9. Political agreement settle disputed sections through negotiation and mediation. Legal delimitation agree on the legal boundary and authoritative documents. Technical demarcation GPS/GNSS surveying, satellite imagery, agreed maps and durable boundary pillars. Joint verification both countries inspect and approve the same boundary data. Permanent maintenance replace damaged or missing markers and update the digital database. Community participation consult pastoralists, farmers, traders, and communities living along the border. Cross-border development markets, roads, water management, livestock corridors, and legal crossing points. Joint security coordinate against trafficking, terrorism and organized crime without militarizing ordinary border communities. Dispute resolution mechanism establish a clear process before problems arise. 10 Regional/O support use the O and regional economic communities when bilateral negotiations become difficult. Most important lesson for Africa. A peaceful border is not simply a line of concrete pillars. It is a jointly agreed legal boundary supported by accurate maps, permanent institutions, local community participation and economic cooperation. This is particularly important because African borderlands can experience higher levels of political violence than areas farther from borders. The O's approach is therefore especially relevant. Border demarcation should be linked to peace, security, trade, movement, and regional integration, rather than treated purely as a military or territorial exercise. Best combined African model: China/Russia rightward arrow technical demarcation and maintenance plus USA rightward arrow permanent joint institutions plus EU rightward arrow integrated border governance plus Japan/Korea rightward arrow technology, law, and practical cooperation plus a rightward arrow African ownership and regional integration. Thank you. See you soon.